Hello, everybody. My name is Adam, and I like to review things on my channel. Today is True Crime Tuesday, where generally I review a true crime topic. I've been reading a collection of books called 12 from Hell, and I am on, I think it's book, uh, yeah, 4 of this series called The Curse, a shocking true story of superstition, human sacrifice, and cannibalism by Ryan Green. And this tells the story of Leonarda Cianciulli. Cianciulli. I've heard it a lot of in the narration, but Cianciulli, hard to say, also known as the soap maker of Correggio. So you can kind of guess where this is going, hearing the title and hearing what she is known as. But uh, what is her first name? Leonarda. So Leonarda, she grew up in a very difficult environment because her mother, unfortunately, unfortunately, was raped by some guy, and this guy, they used to do this thing where they would force in Italy and probably in other places they would force the rapist and the person who had been raped to be married. So they were married, and obviously Leonardo's mom did not like this at all, and it was also tough for her because she had been a member of high society, and the guy that forced himself on her was a member of lower society. And so after the marriage, they had to live a much different life than Leonardo's mom had been accustomed to. And then her husband died, and Leonardo was born. And so Leonardo's mom thought that she would get back into her position in high society, but that didn't really happen so much. And she was, Leonardo's mom was very abusive to Leonarda, and Leonarda was looking for any kind of escape from this situation, and eventually she found like true love in this guy named Raphael, and they left, but Leonardo's mom cursed her, and Leonardo really believed in curses, so she felt like she was going to not have a happy life. And she was pregnant, I think, 9 or 10 times, and three or four of the children survived. And she went to a fortune teller because she believed in that kind of thing. And one of them said that one child would, no, none of her children would outlive her. And so she had a very sort of delicate constitution, as they would say. She was like a nervous personality. She was prone to seizures. And she thought that the seizures came from this curse that her mother had given her. But she went to a doctor, and the doctor said, no, no, it's not a curse, it's a disease. And then she's like, oh, yeah, not a disease. And she kind of built a life for herself with her new husband, and they lived in this town. And the town was destroyed by a earthquake, and they only survived because they were sleeping outside because it was a really warm night, and they were sleeping in some fields, and the earthquake destroyed the town, and a lot of people were outside in these fields because I guess that was the tradition to sleep outside when the weather was nice. So the earthquake happened, and a lot of the people went back to their houses to try and salvage something from the wreckage. But when they did that, then there was the aftershock, and so more people were actually killed during the aftershock than during the earthquake. But Leonarda, she had this like kind of understandable panic attack, and she was not moving anywhere. So Raphael and the children stayed with her, and they didn't go back to the house, and that saved them. So their house was destroyed, and they moved on to another place called Coraggio, and the people there were very friendly, and they accepted them immediately into their society. And Leonarda actually became quite popular because she was starting to write poetry. And so she had like this social life that she never had before. And so she became part of this town. And, they were looking for ways to make money. So Leonarda had learned how to make soap earlier. So she started to make soap, and she created this soap business, which was very popular in Italy. Like, her soap would sell out, and she'd do these creative things with her soap, and people loved it. But she also, at the same time, she got deeper and deeper into like mysticism and magic, and she would study different books connected to different magic traditions. And this was before the Second World War, so there was all of this, you know, fomenting around this kind of occultism. And a lot of it was sort of like revival of occultism, and it was just what people thought was true. But there were still some old traditions that Leonardo was able to find connected to this magic. And so she got deeper and deeper in this magic world, and she started to worry a lot about her children, especially her older son. So her older son really felt like his mom was overprotective, way too protective, and he wanted to leave. So when the army recruitment officers came to Italy, to this town, right before the Second World War, he was like, "Sign me up." So he signed up, and he didn't tell his mom, but his mom somehow found out about this, and she wanted to do some magic to protect him. And there is this principle in magic, I guess, which is like for like. So every kind of spell has a consequence. So if you wanna, I don't know, if you wanna not be bald, then the universe demands somebody else be bald. That's kind of the most ridiculous example I could think of. But Leonarda interpreted this: if she wanted to save her son's life during this war, she'd have to take somebody's life. And she was in this position where she was like a leader in this town. So people would come to her with their problems. And so she knew a few women um, they wanted to find husbands, and they were spinsters or whatever. And so her first two murders were people like that. And so the spell involved ingesting some of this material and rubbing it all over your body. So she tried to make soap twice, because she's a soap maker, to protect her son, and the soap didn't work the first two times because probably because of simple chemistry, but she interpreted it that her magic wasn't sincere enough or whatever. And then eventually she decided that she needed somebody special to be sacrificed for her son, because obviously her son was such a special person. So she had this real friend who had been a soprano in some operas and fell on a bit of hard times, but she was still this like vibrant, bubbly personality. So Leonarda killed her and made the soap, and the soap worked well. And probably it was just because Leonarda had practiced two times already with making soap out of human beings, and this was the third time. I don't want to say third time's the charm, because that's kind of creepy, but it worked. And she's able to make soap out of this woman. And she was discovered shortly thereafter, but she managed to make the soap, and people, Giuseppe, her older son, ate some cake that she made with the blood of the victim, which was part of the spell. And so, in a really strange scene, Leonarda actually forced her son to have a bath in front of her and put the soap everywhere on his body. So, really, really weird, really, really creepy. And Giuseppe kind of said, okay, I'm not going to have any contact with my mom after that because that was really, really weird what she did. Just the whole, this putting the soap on, he was creeped out by that. But later, some police officers came and interviewed uh, Leonardo, because obviously she was suspect number one, because she wasn't even a suspect. She was just the last person who saw each of these victims. And I think she actually confessed to the crimes when the police came, because her work was done, and the police didn't believe her until she started saying in great detail what she had done. Um, yeah, so obviously she was arrested and she was put on trial. And there's this moment in the trial where the coroner, for whatever reason, doesn't believe her story and says something like it would be impossible to make soap from a human body. And she says something like, bring a body here and you don't know what you're talking about, bring a body here and I'll make soap. It's possible. I can do it right now in front of you. So that was kind of creepy and showed that she actually was guilty. So the author, um, this is my fourth book in this series. So the good thing about the writing is that he kind of does different styles with every book. Um, the last book about Richard Speck, he had a lot of first person, and there was a bit of first person, but you kind of it's more third person in this one. So you're kind of like looking at the scene of this woman trying desperately to protect her children. And he kind of makes the conclusion that she was a narcissist, and that's why she could sacrifice these three children, other people's children, for her own child. And I don't think, I don't know if she was a narcissist or not, but I think that she lived in a world where she 100% believed that magic and curses were real, and she believed that she could do something about it. So she believed that she was cursed, and she didn't want to put her curse on her children, which ironically is the very thing that she did. Because we don't actually know if Giuseppe survived the Second World War, because this was such a big scandal that all of the children kind of changed their names informally and ran away. So we don't know what happened to them. They might have died before their mom, or they might have died after their mom. So their mom died in prison in 1970. Maybe not in prison. So she was sentenced to 30 years for those crimes. So she served the 30 years, and then after they were going to have a psychiatric evaluation of her, and she died in the psychiatric hospital. So I don't know if she was a narcissist, but I think definitely she was the victim of abuse, and that skewed the way that she thought about the world. And because she believed in magic, there was nobody there to tell her, because she was probably the person in that community who knew the most about magic. So there was nobody there to say, hey, maybe don't do that. Maybe think about other people's lives and the effect that you're having on them. So, yeah, a very fascinating case, and yeah, fascinating case, fascinating book. I would give it 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. If you've read the book or you know about the case, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Thank you. Bye-bye.